All right, hey, what's up, everybody? I'm here to answer a question that I run to on the web all the time, and it shocked me at first seeing it, and then it even shocked me even more to see all the cynical responses to it. It's because I think I understand where people are coming from when they ask it. So, but before I get into that question, please do me a favor and hit subscribe and hit like and give me a comment and say hi. And because anything you do will help me out as I get this YouTube channel off the ground and I learn how to make better videos, and you guys learn how to play guitar. So the question now, and I'm going to start out with a little quick story, because you guys can see in the title what the question is, right? So, but POV, you go to get some groceries, right? You're in the grocery store and you're like, okay, loaf of bread, container of milk, stick of butter. And then when you get home, you realize that you accidentally also bought $1,000 guitar amp, a $1,200 guitar, two $300 pedals, $300 worth of cables, and a strap and some assorted guitar picks. And you're sitting there in your car and you're like, do I leave the state or do I try to sneak this stuff in through the basement door? But you're a pro, right? You've done this before with electronics, so you sneak it in. You got time now. You've bought yourself enough time to build yourself a cover story, right? But now, now that you're safe and you got this guitar, you got all this equipment that you spent your rent on, what's next? That's the big question that I get a lot of people asking. They're just like, man, hey, I just bought a guitar. What do I do now? And, my first instinct is like, come on, man, you're pulling my leg. But then, once I give it a little bit of thought, I'm like, okay, yeah. If you go on Google, you're going to find a lot of advice, which may be good or may be bad. You don't know. You're new, right? You're going to go on YouTube and you're going to find videos that aren't even related to your search. But you're not going to realize, you're not going to know. You're just going to be like, what is this? I don't know where to start. So it's easy to ask somebody that's already been there to pinpoint it for you, right? And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to remove the veil of ambiguity from that process and give you guys a quick list to tell you what to do next. Okay, so you're sitting there, you got a new guitar, you got a new amp, you're good to go, right? The salesperson at the music store hooked you up. He hooked you up, right? He made you feel good about your purchase. So now you're hell bent on learning how to play this guitar, and because if you don't learn how to play it, your wife is going to be very angry with you. So the next thing you do, the first thing you do, go ahead and get a pen and paper and write this down. Open up your yellow pages and let your fingers do the walking and find yourself a quality guitar instructor. And so many people are so proud of how they taught themselves and stuff like that. And there's some really great players out there that are self-taught. But most of the people that I've heard that are self-taught don't really go that far. And there are a few that do. I'm what you would call self-taught, and I've done pretty good. Not where I want to be, but far better off than I could have been. But if I could go back in time, in retrospect, I would have gotten a good instructor, because it would have just made it so much easier, because they know the right questions to ask. They know what you need to work on. They know what bad habits you're developing that they need to stop. And it just makes it a lot easier process if you go with an instructor. Now, let's say you can't afford an instructor, or you can't find one, you're having trouble finding one, they're all booked, everybody wants to play guitar. So yeah, it's actually a good way to make money is teaching guitar. So then, what do you learn if you're going to learn on your own? Okay, so let's go to step 2, but keep number 1, find a good guitar instructor as an option. Okay, step 2. All right, what do we do? Well, we need to familiarize ourselves with guitar. We need to learn the major parts of guitar. You can probably find some good information online for that. You don't necessarily need an instructor for that, but you need to get the body, the bridge, the nut, pickups, strings, pickup selector, volume, tone, tuners, tuning keys. You got to learn all that stuff because if you don't know that stuff, then you're not going to understand anything you're reading. So the next step, step number 3, you need to learn how to tune and intonate your instrument. That means tuning means to use these keys to adjust the tension on the strings, to change the tone, and make sure they're the correct pitch, right? When it's in tune, everything you play will sound good. Now, if it's out of tune, everything's going to sound off. So no matter how good you start getting as a guitar, you're not going to get the proper feedback loop when you're practicing to be better if your strings aren't in tune. So this is very important. Like, you can't skip this step. Then the next thing you want to learn is how to intonate it. And what intonation is it changes the length of the string so that if it's in tune, when you're down here, you want it to still be in tune when you're up here. So that's called intonation. That's what means it's if it's in tune, it's uniformly in tune across the entire length of the fretboard. So tuning and intonation. Number 3, extremely important. Okay, and I'm only going to do a couple more steps here. The next thing I want you to learn is actually, you can switch these next 2 steps around. So the first one, I would say learn intervals. Okay, and what intervals are, and you're not going to learn them all in one day, but you need to start working on learning those intervals. And intervals are like it just tells from a particular frame of reference, it tells you how many notes you are from a certain point. Like if I play a C right here, all right, I'm going to come up here, I'm going to play a G. Well, that is a certain interval. That is a fifth, a perfect fifth from the C. If I were to play a tritone, that's an interval. Tritone interval, So intervals it also can be just moving a half step or a whole step. Those are your intervals, and they are important because that is the language of music. And you'll hear them expressed as numbers. You'll hear them expressed as letters. There's all kinds of ways to express intervals, and you're gonna learn most of that. And so learn those intervals. Highly important because that's kind of like that helps to set that ground layer for everything else you need to know to be a good guitarist. So chords, melodies, everything. Interval, scales, intervals. So and then the next thing after that, and this is where I said these 2 are, hot swappable. You can learn either or. Man, I kind of want to get people started early on learning some open chords. And the reason is because they sound beautiful, for one. Open chords are just nice, full chords. They sound really, really good. But the other reason is because you're gonna get really bored if you're just constantly hitting the books and not actually playing any. So relatively quickly, I want to see people start learning some easy stuff but effective. You learn a couple open chords, and you can play songs. So you want to do that, and then you can impress your wife or your mom or your dad or your boyfriend or whoever. Some girls at a party, you learn how to play Wonderwall, learn some chords, and start having some fun. Start reaping the benefits of your labor, right? And then after the chords, the next step, I would say, is then you want to start diving into scales. And with scales, I mean scales and modes. Write this down: scales and modes. You may not know what those are right now, but they're going to become very important later on. And then that's where I'm going to leave you guys off. By the time you have learned how to you learn the parts of your guitar, you've learned how to tune your guitar, you've learned how to intonate your guitar, you've learned how to play some basic chords. If you've learned the intervals, by the time you've gotten through all that, you're on the road to become a relatively experienced guitar player, and you're probably pushing being intermediate at this point. And in order to become an intermediate player, you start to have to understand scales and modes, and then come back to me or your guitar instructor at that point, and then see where to go from there. But as far as like the new person that doesn't know what to do, and like I said, the first thing you want to do is either get on the phone with an instructor and get you a quality instructor, or start learning the parts of the guitar, how to tune it, and then and start on how to keep it intonated. Those are the first things you want to learn. And then the rest, as you're learning that stuff, and even with like tuning, it's like you learn how to tune it early on, but you get better and better at it with practice. And everything on the guitar, you start out and you kind of suck at it, and then later on you get better and better at it. And to really start out right, you need to learn the parts, learn the tuning, and then start learning those intervals. Super, super important, man. And that lays the groundwork for you to grow as a musician and be really good. And but anyhow, again, do me a favor, like and subscribe. Any help I get, I appreciate dearly, and I hope this helped you guys out. And I will be back with some more videos soon. Have a good one.